The U.S.-Iran talks are nothing but a charade. Donald Trump says the negotiations are going smoothly. It's all a lie to the entire world. The vast majority of people haven't seen through it at all. America has no desire for peace talks whatsoever. It has only one ultimate goal: to completely dismantle Iran and take full control of the Middle East. As of today, the landscape of the situation has been upended. America's disguise is about to fall apart. Today, I will break down the truth behind it all for you through thin and layers of underlying logic. Every single detail will upend your perception. Every set of data will tear through the lies. Are you ready to be shocked? Let's start with the first layer of logic. The negotiations are a smokescreen. Why do I say the U.S.-Iran talks are fake? The timeline makes it crystal clear. On March 5 local time, Trump announced a 10-day pause on airstrikes, citing smooth progress in the negotiations as the reason. But on the very same day, what was Iran doing? It launched the Sindhi-ND round of Operation True Promise Wind. Missiles and drones rained down on U.S. military bases, while simultaneously striking Israel's nuclear facilities. Talking about negotiations on one hand, waging war on the other. You call this smooth progress? You're kidding. No one. Now look at the negotiating terms from both sides. The U.S. put forward a 10-point plan, every single clause designed to strike a fatal blow to Iran. It demands that Iran dismantle its nuclear capabilities, hand over its 27 highly enriched uranium, demolish the nuclear facilities in Natanz and Isfahan, and grant the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, unfettered access for full inspections. It also demands a ban on Iran's development of ballistic missiles and an end to its support for resistance groups. How is this a negotiation? This is forcing Iran into unconditional surrender. Iran's response was even more direct, putting forward TD non-negotiable musts as its hardline terms. The U.S. must end its aggressive acts against Iran. The U.S. must pay compensation for war damages. The U.S. must recognize Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Is there any chance the U.S. will agree to these terms? Absolutely none. CNN cited a U.S. official's revelation that the so-called negotiations from the U.S. side are nothing more than a bid to buy time for a ground invasion, talking while ramping up troop deployments. This is America's real playbook. Thousands of soldiers from the U.S. side. U.S. Army's 70 Airborne Division have already been deployed to the Middle East. 2 Marine Expeditionary Units, MEU says, are urgently assembling and heading for the Persian Gulf. This day pause in negotiations is not a truce. It's a preparation for war. Do you get it now? America's negotiations are nothing but a show put on for the whole world, a show for its allies to paint itself as a peace-seeking nation, a show for the world to stabilize global oil prices, all while it sharpens its knives behind the scenes. Now, for the second layer of logic, the goal is to dismantle Iran. Why is America so determined to bring Iran down? It's not about the nuclear issue. That's just an excuse. There's only one core reason: geopolitics. Iran's geographical location is simply too critical. It has a land area of 20 million square kilometers, a population of 50 million people, and full control over the Strait of Hormuz. How important is this strait? The end of the world's seaborne oil trade passes through it. For America to control global energy, it must seize this vital choke point. More importantly, Iran is the core of anti-American sentiment in the Middle East. It has joined forces with the Houthi forces and Hezbollah to form a resistance axis, standing up to America at every turn. For America to dominate the Middle East, Iran is the single biggest stumbling block. That's why America's goal is not compromise, but the complete dismantling of Iran. How will it do this? With a 3-step strategy, each step interlocking with the next step 1, cripple its economic lifeline. 5 of Iran's crude oil exports come from Karg Island. This island, kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide, is Iran's largest crude oil export hub. On March 7, U.S. warplanes launched airstrikes on the island, destroying more than 710 military targets, yet deliberately leaving the oil facilities intact. Why? Not out of mercy, but to seize them for itself. America plans to occupy Karg Island, seize control of Iran's oil exports, and cut off the country's source of income. Iran will certainly not sit idly by. It has deployed man-portable air defense systems on the island, laid anti-personnel and anti-tank mines, and is on high alert for an amphibious landing by U.S. forces. But America's ambitions go far beyond this. Step 2, destroy its military-industrial complex. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued an order to destroy as many of Iran's military-industrial facilities as possible within 13 hours. Why is Israel in such a rush? Because it fears America will back out halfway. How strong is Iran's military-industrial capability? It can independently produce drones and missiles, and even shoot down U.S. F-22 fighter jets. What caliber of fighter jet is the F-22? It's the U.S. military's main carrier-based fighter, with a price tag of up to $70 million US. Iran can shoot it down with domestically produced weapons. This is America's worst nightmare. That's why it must destroy Iran's military industry, to strip it of its ability to fight back. Step 3. Incite division and implement divide and rule. While Persians are the main ethnic group in Iran, the country is also home to Azerbaijani, Kurdish, and other ethnic minorities. America has long been laying the groundwork in secret, funding Kurdish armed groups, stoking ethnic tensions in an attempt to plunge Iran into civil unrest. Once Iran descends into chaos, America can step in and take advantage, splitting Iran into multiple small countries, just like it did when it dismantled the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. You think this is alarmist? Just look at Iraq after America launched the Iraq War. The country remains fragmented to this day. This is America's classic playbook. Now look at this set of shocking comparisons. Iran has a land area of 1,000 million square kilometers. How many troops would America need to invade it? Modern warfare research shows that to occupy a resistant country, a troop ratio of 13 is required. With Iran's sub-million population, the U.S. military would need at least 20,000 troops and 20,000 troops to quell resistance. This is close to the active duty ceiling of the entire U.S. Army. The cost would be an astronomical figure. The Iraq war cost $5 trillion US. A war with Iran would cost at least $15 trillion US, equivalent to 1/3 of America's GDP in 2020. What is America after to pay such a huge price? It wants to dismantle Iran, take control of the Middle East, and dominate the entire world. Do you now understand the dangers at play? Third layer of logic, the truth behind the multi-party game. Beneath the U.S.-Iran game lies the undercurrent of great power rivalry. First, look at Israel, the most eager pawn in the game. Why is Israel even more anxious than America? Because it and Iran are sworn enemies. Israel has a land area of just signed area of just square kilometers with almost no strategic depth. Iran's missiles can cover the entire territory of Israel. If Iran wanted to, it could plunge Israel into crisis in an instant. That's why Israel is doing everything in its power to push America into war with Iran. Netanyahu's order to destroy Iran's military industry in hiding hours is precisely because he fears delays will bring changes. But Israel has forgotten one thing. It is nothing but America's pawn. Once Iran is dismantled, Israel will lose its utility and America will abandon it without hesitation. This is the fate of a pawn. Next, look at Russia, biding its time and waiting for the right moment. Many people say Russia will help Iran. Wrong, dead wrong. Russia's core interests lie in Syria. It will not confront America head-on for the sake of Iran, but neither will it sit idly by and watch America monopolize the Middle East. Russia will secretly supply weapons to Iran, provide intelligence support, and trap America in the quagmire of a war with Iran, just like America did to the Soviet Union back in the day. The longer America is stuck in a war in the Middle East, the less pressure Russia will face. This is Russia's calculation. Then there's Europe caught in a dilemma with no way out. Europe is dependent on Middle Eastern oil. If the Strait of Hormuz is blockaded, oil prices in Europe will skyrocket and its economy will plunge into recession. That's why Europe does not want a war with Iran, yet dares not offend America. It can only muddle through in the middle, calling for peace talks with its mouth, while cooperating with America's sanctions on Iran with its actions. Finally, China keeping a cool head and watching from the sidelines. China has always advocated peaceful negotiations and non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries. But that does not mean we are indifferent. China is the largest importer of Iranian oil, and we have our own interests to safeguard. China's facilitation of the Saudi-Iranian rapprochement is precisely to stabilize the situation in the Middle East, chaos in the Middle East benefits. No one. But if America really dismantles Iran and breaks the balance in the Middle East, China will also take decisive action to safeguard its own interests, as well as global energy security. There is one more country that has suffered the most, one that many people have overlooked: Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and Iran are longtime rivals. It originally thought it could reap the benefits when America goes to war with Iran, but it has forgotten that after Iran is dismantled, it will be the next target for America to control Middle Eastern oil. It will not spare a single oil-producing country. Saudi Arabia may seem safe for now, but it is in fact surrounded by crises on all sides. This is the cruelty of great power games. There are no permanent friends, only permanent interests. Have you seen through each party's whole cards? Fourth layer of logic: which side is time on? In the US-Iran game, who will have the last laugh? The answer is clear: Iran has the upper hand. Why? First, Iran has strategic depth with sovereignty. Millions square kilometers of land covered in plateaus, deserts, and mountainous terrain. America's mechanized troops simply cannot maneuver freely. Back when America invaded Afghanistan, it was trapped in the quagmire of mountain warfare and ultimately withdrew. Iran's terrain is even more complex than Afghanistan's. Would America dare to launch a reckless ground invasion? It would be nothing short of suicide. Second, Iran has the will of the entire nation to resist. Iran has an extremely strong sense of national cohesion and a high degree of religious unity. In the face of foreign aggression, Iran has already mobilized 13 million troops. Every single Iranian could become a resistance fighter. What the U.S. military will face is not a single army, but the entire Iranian nation. Third, Iran has trump cards for retaliation. The Strait of Hormuz is Iran's ultimate weapon. If Iran blockades the strait, global oil prices will skyrocket in an instant, and the economies of America and Europe will collapse. Iran has also announced that if U.S. forces dare to seize the island, it will open a new front in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is another vital global energy artery. If it is blockaded, the global energy supply will be thrown into complete chaos. This is where Iran's confidence comes from. Now look at America, seemingly powerful, but in fact beset with troubles at home and abroad. Domestically, it has sluggish economic recovery, soaring national divisions. It simply cannot withstand a protracted war. A report released by the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, FDD, stated that if the U.S. military invades Iran, it will face heavy casualties and massive consumption, ultimately trapped in the quagmire of war with no way out. An analysis from the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, found that a war on Iran by America will only accelerate the decline of its global hegemony. There is also one key factor: time. Iran can afford to wait. America cannot. Iran can fight a protracted war, relying on its home field advantage to wear down US forces. For America, every extra day it drags on means more economic pressure and louder domestic opposition. For all his tough talk, Trump is actually looking for a way out. The U.S. side has planned a meeting in Pakistan to discuss a plan for withdrawing from the Middle East. This is a telling sign. America is already starting to buckle under the pressure. You think America can really dismantle Iran? It's nothing but a pipe dream. Now let's pull back and look at this game from a macro perspective. The U.S.-Iran talks are a sham. Dismantling Iran is the real goal, and behind it all is the restructuring of global geopolitics. America's unilateralism is facing opposition from more and more countries around the world. Countries in the Middle East are waking up, pursuing strategic autonomy, and breaking free from America's control. China's mediation of the Saudi-Iranian rapprochement and its advancement of the Middle East peace process is the best proof of this. The whole world is reevaluating which country is truly a responsible major power. America's relentless belligerent militarism will only cost it the hearts and minds of the world and push it toward decline. China, on the other hand, adheres to peaceful development and mutual benefit for all, and is emerging as the guardian of global peace. This upheaval in the Middle East is not just a contest between America and Iran, but a contest between two civilizations and two world orders. Time is on the side of peace and on the side of justice. Finally, I want to say a few words. every one of which cuts through the lies and rings loud and clear. Negotiations are a smokescreen. Dismantlement is the truth. Hegemony will eventually fall, and justice will never be absent. America's ambitions will ultimately be crushed. Iran's resistance will ultimately be rewarded. The sky over the Middle East is long overdue for a change. This game is not about who can defeat whom, but about who can uphold peace and win the hearts and minds of the people. If this video helped you understand the truth behind the upheaval in the Middle East and see through America's ambitions, please hit the like button and share it with the people around you. Let more people see the truth and stop being fooled. Follow me for more great content next time. In our next episode, we'll talk about what will happen on the other side of the Pacific if America gets trapped in the quagmire of the Middle East. Where will the next battlefield of great power rivalry be? See you next time.